Howdy guys, and welcome to night 64 of Big Brother Season 23's overnight feed recaps. And welcome to Cliff Notes from, obviously, outside the Big Brother house. Alright, we've got it coming up tonight. We've got a double eviction, the first of two double evictions. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see this week done. It got a little stale, a little predictable. Let's move on to a little bit more excitement, and I think hopefully we'll get that tonight. So first of all, a little bit of a recap. Claire and Xavier are on the block, Tiffany's HOH, so she can't play in tonight's HOH competition, the second half of the double eviction tonight. But Claire and Xavier are on the block. Claire's going home. It's decided. Everyone knows it. Now, we did have campaigning going on today, but Xavier knows that he's staying, and everyone talking to Claire knows that she's going. But in addition to those two, we've also got Alyssa, who's been campaigning a bit because she too wants out Claire. And in fact, at one point, Alyssa actually told Claire, said, look, stop campaigning because the votes are already locked in your favor. So just don't be campaigning anymore because you're good, which is not the case. Alyssa is actually actively working against Claire because she thinks it's going to be this huge blindside shock to Tiffany, and Alyssa's so happy about it. So she's telling Claire, don't campaign. You're good. You're good. Never believe someone when they say you're good and you don't need to be campaigning. But she has said that. Now, the eviction was a foregone conclusion no matter what. Claire was going home. But the way that Hannah was able to get Alyssa on their side, actively working against Claire and to send Claire home, a masterful job from Hannah's point, or Hannah's position to make that happen. She convinced Alyssa. Good job, Hannah. I'm still very impressed with that. All right, we come back from the TV episode last night to find Claire in a one-on-one with Kyland. I'm feeling even more sorry for Claire than I did before. Kyland mentions at one point that he is prioritizing his perceptions as a fact, or he's prioritizing his perception is indeed a fact. I don't know. It did make sense when I heard it. It doesn't really make sense when I read it out again. Claire may just not even make it till tonight. She may just self-evict just so she can avoid having any more one-on-ones with Kyland. There may be a few people that would self-evict if that was an option. But eventually, while she's having her conversation with Kyland, she starts crying as she realizes he may even have told her at one point. I didn't catch it, but he may have told her even that she does not have his vote. She realizes it by the end, and so she's crying. Because I really think she thought Kyland was her only chance. If she could get him, then others would come on board, and she maybe would get those 3 votes. She knows now it's not going to happen. All right, we've got Claire and Tiffany talking to each other. Claire's complaining about Kyland's one-on-one. She's saying, the guy is so annoying. He is so arrogant. If you tell him that he's wrong, he gets all upset. If you even offer the opinion he may be wrong, he gets all upset. She says, I can't stand it. I can't do any more one-on-ones with him. Well, you're not the only one on that one, Claire. All right, Claire is offering explanations about why she thinks Kyland might be keeping Xavier. She's throwing out a few ideas. The thing is, she just doesn't understand that about this big alliance. Yeah, she knows that Tiffany had said that for personal reasons she couldn't put the other guys up, that she had to put Claire up. But Claire just still doesn't quite grasp that they are in a full-blown formal alliance, and that's why she's on the block. So she's throwing out reasons why Kyland's keeping Xavier. Well, we know the reason. They're part of an alliance. But she does mention, even though she doesn't understand completely the formation of this alliance or the existence, she does mention that she thinks the guys are working together, and also that she thinks that Kyland is working both sides of the house, of the people that are left inside the house. So she understands the house dynamics, a lot of them. Even though she doesn't know about the alliance, she understands the dynamics and who's working with each other. I gotta say, Claire, she's had some missteps. She's had some wrong reads, some assumptions that weren't correct. But I also think Claire's done a decent job of trying to read the house and understand what's going on. Sometimes it just doesn't work in your behalf. And again, she's had some issues, some errors as well. And you play the game. All right, we've got Tiffany still talking. Claire and Tiffany still talking. Tiffany is talking Claire about how they're going to handle the eviction tonight. And Tiffany's always playing the game. She is talking Claire into calling out people. She basically has Claire upset at everyone else in the house. And she's saying, man, you ought to call some people out during your eviction speech. Go out with fireworks and all of that. And so she's saying, look, if you call some other people out, you're going to help me with my game as well. I certainly would be appreciative of that, Claire. It would be fantastic. Didn't Tiffany just get through putting Claire on the block? I don't know why Claire still feels so much loyalty to Tiffany to try to help her win this game. Yeah, I understand they were tight, but obviously not that tight since you're on the block, Claire. But Tiffany's what's it saying about wrapped around a little finger? Tiffany certainly still has Claire's loyalty at this point in time. And so Claire's saying, yeah, I'll blow up some games. Let's figure out who we want to blow up. They mentioned Kylan at one point, and I can't remember if it's Tiffany or Claire said, yeah, he's already blown up his game. We probably don't even need to worry about him. Tiffany suggests to Claire to call out Alyssa, to refer to Alyssa as Holly. Holly from My Season 21. I assume it's because of the connection with Xavier, because they're a duo, and Tiffany especially is trying to portray them as a very tight duo, and it could be a little bit a bit of a dig. We saw how much Alyssa hated when people were talking about her and Christian being in a showmance. If Claire says something about going back to Holly and all of that, and somehow implies that Alyssa's playing the same game, and maybe implies a little bit that Alyssa has a no-match showmance with Xavier, I think Alyssa's going to go ballistic, which is going to be fun because Alyssa, again, she already knows or thinks that Claire's going out the door, and it's going to be this huge shock. So if Claire calls out Alyssa, and then Claire goes home and Alyssa thinks it's a big surprise, Alyssa's going to be so happy, and she's not going to understand who's probably walking out the door into the jury house next. So they're talking about referring to Alyssa as Holly in some form or manner. Claire's saying that she wants to accuse Alyssa of playing a Holly type game, and that it just doesn't make sense to keep such a strong duo in the house. And what are the voters thinking about it when they cast the votes tonight? So she wants to do that. Now, also, Claire's talking about some other things. You remember how I mentioned that she has some pretty good reads? Sometimes not so much. Claire's talking about to Tiffany, saying, "Look, Hannah is so trustworthy." Well, she is to Tiffany, but as far as with Claire, maybe not quite so much. But she's saying, look, Tiffany has been so trustworthy. She's one of the few people I trust in the house. Well, not quite as much as you think. All right, eventually, they talk more about the eviction speech. They eventually agree that Claire is going to talk, primarily target Xavier, even more so than Alyssa, a whole lot more than Alyssa. Claire's going to say that, look, if y'all send me home and you keep Xavier, it shows that he is playing a fantastic game, and congratulations, because y'all all just gave Xavier $7,500. She's saying that if you send me home, he's playing a good enough game, he's going to get my vote no matter what. And not only that, not only my vote, but I'm going to make sure everyone else in the jury house knows what a great game he's playing. I'm going to make sure they all vote for Xavier as well. So she's threatening to poison the jury. I kind of know something about that. I tried that as well. It didn't work for me, and it's not going to work for Claire either. But hey, I admire. She's going out to the very last minute, going out fighting. So hey, you got to take the shot, even though it's very much a long shot. But that's what she's going to do, is just say, well, if you keep Xavier right now, why would you keep him over me? Just go ahead and give him the money right now. And I get the argument. It won't matter, but I get the argument. So they're going to talk about that. Well played, Tiffany. I mean, Tiffany isn't just sending out Claire, which she hated to do, but she's protecting the Cookout Alliance. But as she does that, she still has the person that she put on the block calling out Tiffany's biggest target in the house, Xavier, calling him out and hurting his game and helping Tiffany's, even as the person she just put on the block heads out the door. Well played, Tiffany. It's amazing what some of the. Yeah, I know people have said this season's a little boring, a little predictable. I'm not disagreeing. We've had a lot of really slow nights, but there has been some gameplay in this house. It's been a little fun to watch. I love to see manipulations taking place in there. All right, we've got the have-nots over. Everyone is celebrating, especially the have-nots. Derek fixed a big feast, which they are all partaking in. Alyssa's happy. I'm glad Alyssa gets one day to enjoy regular food before the have-not, or before the HOH and her possible demise and exit outside the house. All right, we've got Tiffany talking to the cameras. And basically she's saying, look, the mission's done. She's assuming that Alyssa's heading out tonight. She's hoping Alyssa's heading out. She said, look, the mission's done. One of us is going to win the prize at this point. So she's saying, now that the mission's done, now I'm here to win the money. And Xavier has to go. He's got to be the person that heads out the door first. I think she calls him Mr. Confident or something. So Tiffany definitely now has her next target in line identified, and she's ready to get him out the door. But she's also talking about inside the house. She's still worried that she could be a potential early target, and she sure could be. I mean, there are people, especially Big D, who would take a shot at Tiffany if given the chance. So she's a little bit worried about that. And she's saying she's not sure, now that Claire is going to be out of the house, she's not sure who else she has in the house that she can count on. That she trusts Hannah, but really beyond that, she's not sure that she's got anyone at all. And I think that's a valid concern. Although we hear a little bit later that Azah saying that she just doesn't feel like she can put up any of the black women in the house. So she may have a little support from Azah as well for a little bit longer. All right, we've got Claire and Hannah talking. Hannah, when Claire tells her, says, I couldn't get Kylan's vote. I'm going home. I'm going home, Hannah. And Hannah's acting all surprised. Hey, you couldn't get, what? You couldn't get his vote? Kylan didn't give you a vote? Oh my gosh, Claire. Hannah does a lot of talking. But Hannah's acting surprised when she says she didn't have the votes. And she's doing the same thing Tiffany's doing. She said, well, if you're going home, you might as well go out with a bang. Blow up Xavier's game. Make sure that he pays the price for being on the block with you. Don't make the person who put you on the block pay the price. Make the person who's on the block with you pay just because. So she said, blow up Xavier's game. That's perfect. Claire is talking, and again, remember when I said Claire had some good reads in the house? Maybe not, other reads not so good. Claire is saying, look, Hannah, you should work with Alyssa. You can probably trust Alyssa. Work with Alyssa, really. Really? That kind of caught me off guard. I would not have expected Claire to tell Hannah to work with Alyssa. But if she's got to work with her, she better work with her pretty quick, because they may not be sharing the house for too much longer. But Hannah comes back and says, no. My targets, if I get HOH, are Alyssa and Xavier. That's who I'm going after. And I got to say, Hannah's got a good chance of winning HOH this week, because not a lot of people are competing for HOH. I think it's probably going to be Hannah and Alyssa and Big D and who else? I don't know. We'll talk about it. We're almost done, but we'll talk about that. We've got Azah, as I mentioned just a second ago, Azah talking to Big D and saying, look, if I win HOH, I just can't nominate a black woman. She says, Tiffany and I have our differences. We're not on the same page necessarily, but I can't nominate a black woman. So I guess Azah has the overall mission, but maybe there's a little bit different mission as well. So she's saying that, and Big D saying, I understand. We've got different targets as well, and that's okay. And this is the thing. They talked about this yesterday too. He said, I understand it. Big D's target's obviously Tiffany. Azah's saying, no, I gotta go for the guys. And when she says that, she's not going after Xavier. I don't think. That surprised me. So it's got to be Kylan that Azah would be going after as her primary target, and Tiffany for Big D. Again, one of these two could win HOH tonight, which would be a huge shock considering how they've done in comps so far, but there's always a first, right? So they're talking about that. Big D is saying, look, I'm going to put up women on the block if I get HOH, because I can't beat any of them in a jury vote. So I've got to put them up. Well, valid point, but Big D, I'm not sure that that you're beating Xavier or Kylan in a jury vote either. So, all right, we've got Kylan and Tiffany in bed. And no, I don't think they spent the night together in bed. I think eventually Kylan popped up and headed elsewhere. It's once the lights are off, it's a little tough to tell, but they spent a little time in bed just talking, sweet talking. Yeah, just doing a little bit of talking. Kylan is saying that he really wants Hannah to win this HOH, but he'll stick around until he knows that Alyssa is done, eliminated. We don't know what kind of HOH it's going to be, but he's saying he's going to make sure Alyssa doesn't win. But beyond that, he doesn't want to win. He'd like to see Hannah win. Well, of course he would. Sure he would. Hannah's over on the side with Tiffany. I think Kylan he's, as Claire pointed out, he's playing both sides of the house. He's perfectly fine to have someone who he thinks is going to protect him, win this HOH, and ensure that then Kylan can compete in the final 6 HOH, which is going to be a much more important HOH to win at this point in time. So he's saying that. And then finally, we've got Tiffany. Once she zooms in on a target, she doesn't stop. She doesn't let up. She's telling Kylan about how much she doesn't trust Xavier. She's trying to plant the seeds again with Kylan that Xavier just isn't someone to be worked with, and trying to make sure that she pulls Kylan over to her side as much as she can. Tiffany's been doing a lot of that. She talked earlier, and I didn't talk about it in conversations because it happened earlier in the day, but she talked to Azah as well, and she's trying to help that relationship a little bit because we know Azah just told Big D they've been a little bit at odds. So Tiffany's trying to handle and make sure that she's good and tight with everyone in the Cookout Alliance. She's not. She's certainly closer and tighter with some others than others. With some closer than others. It's early. But anyways, but she's doing what she can. All right, and with that, we finally have lights out. I don't know, around 3 o'clock or so. Everyone's getting ready for tonight because tonight, double eviction. We know Claire's going home. We expect that Alyssa will go home unless Alyssa wins HOH or veto. She's got 2 chances to throw a wrench in the Cookout Alliance plans. If Xavier, he's not going for HOH, so he's not going to win HOH unless it's just a random and something weird happens. I doubt he'll play for veto either because he doesn't want to be the one responsible for having either to save Alyssa or to betray her, send her out the door. And if that's the case, Alyssa's going to be a little bitter and Xavier wouldn't get the vote. So Xavier will probably be sitting out this whole evening, letting others take on the action. Even though he's complained for the last week about how much he's thrown all these comps and how he's tired of throwing comps. Well, he's got to throw a couple more right now. But anyway, so he'll be sitting it out. Tiffany can't compete in HOH. Again, I think it's going to come down to Alyssa, Azah, Big D, or Hannah. One of those 4 will take HOH. And based on what happens there, we'll see who's out the door next. Probably going to be Alyssa. But hey, expect the unexpected. We don't know that. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Thursday. Double eviction tonight. We'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about it. I'm really excited to see how this thing plays out. Until then, y'all have a great one, guys. SKD143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.